to All Faiths Unitarian Congregation Sunday service. Today is Sunday, September 13th. I'm the Reverend C.J. McGregor, and I serve this congregation as its minister. However, today I will be co-leading the service as worship associate, and our speaker today is Ariel Hoover, who will be delivering our message. Today is the 7th Sunday of our series on Unitarian Universalist principles, and our 7th principle is the respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are all a part. And Ariel will be delivering a message for us around that principle. Here at All Faiths, you will find a diverse and inclusive spiritual community where we welcome people with many beliefs. And you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, and your expansive heart. At All Faiths, we have more than one way of experiencing the sacred in the world. And no matter who you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, and no matter whom you love, you are welcome here. I want to introduce our speaker this morning, Ariel Hoover. She was born on a farm outside Charlotte, North Carolina, where she lived between her grandparents and 6 cousins, as well as her aunt and uncle. She credits her grandparents with her most important life lessons: to love the land and to be kind and helpful to all living things, from plants to animals. And she had more than 20 barn cats and dogs. Wow. It was here that the interdependent web of life became obvious, although it would be demonstrated many times in her life before she began to articulate it. She attended undergraduate school at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. The civil rights movement had a great effect on her, so when she went to teach in 1971 in Belmont, North Carolina, she created a way to educate her students about discrimination. Later, she received a master's degree in history at Murray State University. In 1980, she moved to Massachusetts because of the history of liberalism and opportunities for women to think independently. And there she met Bob, the love of her life and partner in growth, at Springs Hill and Ashby, Massachusetts, and they have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. After moving to Massachusetts, she got her teaching certification and taught English as a second language for many years in public schools and in Tufts University in Boston. When she retired from Tufts recently, she took climate reality training in Pittsburgh in 2017, where she got the information she needed to talk coherently about our greatest threat: climate change. She and her husband Bob started a chapter of climate reality for Lee County in 2018. It focuses on educating our county about climate change and solutions, as well as the importance of solar energy and green public transportation as 2 of the main ways to fight the effects of climate change. We are grateful for Ariel to share her voice here this morning. Today is Share the Plate with an organization called One Tree. If you're not familiar with Share the Plate, we share 10% of our offertory to a community-based organization. One Tree will be working with our climate action team to plant trees in the Dunbar area in the spring. So if you'd like to donate to One Tree, you could write One Tree in the memo line with the amount you would like them to receive, and the money will go directly towards purchasing trees. Each Tuesday, we have a Teaching Tuesday at 1 o'clock on Zoom, so watch for the Zoom address in your email. This week, our guest is Richard Keelan, who is a licensed mental health counselor and works with families and children at Golisano Children's Hospital. He will be talking to us about how to manage anxieties during this time of isolation. The book club and racial justice team and Heart for the Homeless team are all meeting at their regularly scheduled times this week. However, meditation is now at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. It's changed back to its original time. And check your emails for dates and times and Zoom links. There is a solo lunch on Saturday, September 19th at 1 o'clock, and that link will also be sent to you by email. A special announcement, Henry Shapiro, Henry, I hope you're watching, turns 100 today. Today is his 100th birthday, so congratulations. Please join in hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Commend. Please join in reciting our words of lighting the chalice, which are printed in your order of service. Glory be to the earth and the winds. Glory be to the sun and the rain. Glory be to animals and children and women and men. Glory be to our holy flame, which calls us together as one. When we are together, we share our joys and sorrows with our congregation. As we are apart, we still have the opportunity to share our joys and sorrows. If you have a joy and sorrow that you would like to share with the congregation, you could pass that on to me before our Sunday service. Let us share a moment of silence for the joys and sorrows that remain silent and in our hearts. Set me free, Spirit. opening words this morning are from the Reverend Wayne Arnason. We come together today seeking a reality beyond our narrow selves that binds us in compassion, love, and understanding to other human beings, and to the interdependent web of all living things. May our hearts and minds be open to the power and the insight that weave together the scattered threads of our experience, and help us remember the wholeness of which we are a part.
Though below me I feel no ocean, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can sing. I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue ballroom. I give thanks to the waves are holding me, hail the great winds urging me on, breathe the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home. And the earth is my blue home.
Our reading this morning is from the Reverend Richard Gilbert. Blessed are the heavens, for they declare the power of creation. And blessed is the earth, our beloved home, for she is a planet of plenitude. Blessed are the waters thereon, for they give rise to living things. Blessed is the land, for it is the source of life abundant. Blessed is the air that we breathe, for it fires us to life and love. Blessed are the beasts of the field, for they are glorious to behold. Blessed are the birds of the air, for they carve a graceful arc in the sky. Blessed are the mountains and the seas and the valleys, for their variety makes rich our habitat. And blessed are the fields of grain, the orchards of fruit, for they give us sustenance and ask nothing in return. Blessed are the dwellers on earth, for they cherish the privilege of living upon it. Blessed are they who protect the earth and all her creatures, from the plants of the field to the trees of the forest, for their reward shall be harmony with the web of existence. Rejoice and be glad, for the earth and her people are on. And so ends the reading. Let us join together in singing hymn number 163, For the Earth Forever Turning. The words are printed at the bottom of your order of service.
For the earth forever turning, for the skies forever sing, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of praise. For the mountains, hills, and pastures, in their silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens sing we our joyful song of praise. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to Thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
Thank you very much. That was such a beautiful song and so perfect for today. It is really my pleasure to be with all of you today to talk about the seventh principle of Unitarian Universalists, which is respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. As part of our climate action team here at All Faiths, we try to live this every day. I think I've always known this because I spent my entire childhood outdoors. I ran around, as Reverend CJ told you, with my 6 cousins, climbing trees and being the leader of the pack because I was the oldest, always trying to climb higher than anybody else and jump off higher. And I really loved it. I never felt I was a distinct individual. I really felt as part of those trees. As I was doing the research for this talk, I needed to go back through my whole life and look at what I've done, which I have spent a lifetime talking about these issues actually in different ways. And I know that this is a truth statement and very important. And it's only when we think we're separate that we are separate. Perhaps some of you can still remember the 60s and 70s and how you knew through your own research that this interdependence of all life was true. That's our heritage and what we are called to do and be, one with all of it. The destruction, the beauty, the deaths, the racism, but also the promise and the work it takes to change our future, our wild love for the earth, as Joanna Macy calls it in her works. However, at this time and place in our country, we need the vision and the determination to put ourselves into creating it. We have some handicaps. We have the founding principles given to us by the Puritans and absorbed into many Protestant churches, that God rewards us with more monies and other goodies if we are pleasing to Him. And we've also learned that individualism is paramount and that the most able should rule the world. And naturally, If you're like me, you were indoctrinated with the idea that our country was the best one in the world, so we deserve to be the leaders. But we see how this doctrine of individualism and me first has played out. We have a military-industrial complex that is bloated and siphoning off money. We need to fix our social ills. It keeps threatening the entire web of life on our planet. We have all the ills of society: poverty, hunger, ecological destruction, racism, war, and the destruction of our democracy, to name a few. How can we not destroy our democracy when we give power to the people with the most money in our culture? We don't contemplate how our actions will affect the next 7 generations, as our indigenous people told us we should do. But if we do that, we will understand and think about the fact that we are killing all the life on this earth. How could we justify heating our planet by the use of fossil fuels when we already know that the glaciers are melting from the heat and that 40%, even 40% of the world already does not have enough clean water to drink? We already know that the sea level rise in Florida is 8 inches since 1950 and that will increase. We know that, being from North Carolina and coming from a family of farmers, we know that salt water is intruding into the land and that crops cannot be grown. We already know that people of color and minorities, as well as low-income folks, are the most impacted by climate change. For example, we know that African Americans are 3 times more likely to die from particulate matter than whites. And that's because in their neighborhoods, a lot of times polluting industries are situated because there's not enough political clout to keep them out. And this particular fact is the one that enraged me so much that when I came out of that 2017 training, I immediately began to talk about this. And that is that we know that little African American children are 10 times more likely to die from asthma than little white kids. That is a statistic that if we are not fighting against by changing our ways, then I don't know how we can call ourselves humans. Of course, I also have to speak out for the animals, since I'm a volunteer, or was before COVID, at Crow, our wildlife hospital in Sanibel, that we are losing a lot of our beautiful wildlife. We've lost 40% since 1950. How can we even contemplate a world without our beautiful animals? In 1982, I was in Massachusetts, and I got to hear the great anti-nuclear speaker, Helen Caldicott. She said something that has stuck with me all my whole life, which is extinction is not something to contemplate, it's something to rebel against. And I encourage everyone in this congregation and anybody who's listening to rebel against policies that are life-threatening and that are not going to serve the interests of all life on Earth. We know this administration wants to restart the nuclear program because we've been pulled out of the test ban treaty that was protecting us. We also know, because we've been alive long enough, that radiation lasts for thousands of years. When we lived in Massachusetts, we had a wonderful friend named Tinker. He was a musician and a tinkerer. He could fix anything. He played one of the guitars at our wedding. It was the last time that we didn't know it at the time. We would see him alive because he was dying of cancer. The Army had sent him out into White Sands when they were testing the bombs before they dropped them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and he got cancer from that. Most people don't even know that existed, that program. But I want you to tell you that any country that would do that to its citizens is a country that needs to be changed. Even now, we see the radiation coming from Japan, Fukushima Daiichi, the meltdown there. We have the radiation in the water off the coast of Florida. This just shows you how much interrelatedness there is in the world, good and bad. What hurts you will also hurt me. But we have hope. We can change our world. As James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. And that gives me hope, because I believe that we are starting to wake up in our country and in the world. Joanna Macy is sort of an expert on the idea of the interdependence of all life. I met with her work in 1970s. However, I was a young mama working 2 jobs, and I just didn't have time to do any of her programs, but now it's all in her book, so I encourage you to get one of her books and read it. She says we're in, she sort of gives a roadmap for where we are. She says we're now in the great turning, in which we as a human population, or worldwide human population, will decide once and for all to get rid of these extractive industries such as fossil fuel and mining, and to take actions to save our home, working together across the world. And we do see that, you guys. We see a rise up of individual groups like Black Lives Matter and other groups working towards justice and equality in our world. And she makes a really interesting point in her book, Wild Love for the World, where she says this is the best time to be born, because we have a chance to save our world. We can work to do it. Sometimes I get very depressed when I see things that are happening, but I also remember that I too have a chance to do something, that the little decisions that I make, whether to buy that candy enshrouded in plastic, or whether to buy a car that is at least partly hybrid, or at least a better use of gas than the one that I had maybe last time. These little decisions have an impact on the world, larger than I can see. And so we all have a lot of power in our hands right now. Also, another interesting idea that I came upon when I was doing research, I was reading some Unitarian sermons about this topic, and I ran into one that said their church does 2 pledges a year. One for the financial support of the church, and one for what each person would give up to help their earth, to help our planet. And I thought that's a really cool idea. And it's very useful because, you know, as Americans, we're using about 15 times what each person in the rest of the world is using. So when you think that we are using the resources needed by 15 other people, it's easy to think about what you can live without, I think. I want to say in closing that I thank you for the opportunity to share my heart's work. And I want to leave you with a question that I ask myself at least every other day. What will you say to your grandchildren when they ask you, what did you do when there was still time? Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel, for that brilliant message and your call to action. If you're new or haven't joined us for a while, you know that I like to share a joke before the offertory. And I believe that laughter makes us generous. So we do appreciate all of the support that you have given us so we can keep our ministries going and meet the needs of the congregation, our staff, and the community. So Mrs. Smart was fumbling in her purse for her offering when a large television remote fell out and fell on the ground and clattered in the middle of the aisle. And the curious usher bent over to retrieve it for her and whispered, "Do you always carry a TV remote to church?" "No," she replied, "but my husband refused to come with me this morning, and I figured this was the most evil thing I could do to him legally." Thank you, Ed, for that.
as if it were a song for singing outside, provides the music for the stars to be dancing circles in the circles in the as if it were a song for singing out of light, provides the music for the stars to be dancing circles in the night.
Our closing words this morning are by Norman Naylor. Reminded that we are participants of the universe, let us go forth from the quiet of this hour, encouraged to strive toward faithfulness to the best in ourselves, in others, and in the whole of creation.
The sun will soon be rising. The light's no longer red. We walk the street. We ain't got time to play. Standing for our reasons. Our time is coming last to bring it down to bottom. Let the wind show us the path. This time we can see. We ain't got time to play. Rising comes the moon and the sun. I'll be alright for now. I'll be alright for now. 1,000 buffalo on the run. Stand up and fight for now. Stand up and fight for now. Over any distance, the sun will disappear. Darkness with its powers taking over anything that fears. You plant that seed. The light is on the way. And for another moment, we must not divide. Harmony is what we need between both you and I. We land and sea. The light is on the way. Rising comes the moon and the sun. I'll be alright for now. I'll be alright for now. 10,000 buffalo on the run. Stand up and fight for now. Stand up and fight for now. Hold my hand, I know you're the one. Stand up fight for now. Stand up and fight for now. The rising of our generation. Stand up and fight for now. Stand up and fight for now.
Thank you, Joseph. Before I offer appreciation, next Sunday I will be delivering the message. It's on on the proposed 8th principle. And I say proposed because the Unitarian Universalist Association has yet to adopt it as an 8th principle, but our congregation in its last annual meeting unanimously voted to adopt it for our congregation. And the 8th principle moves us away from anti-racism and anti-oppression. I've invited community activist Chantel Rhodes to join me to deliver the message next Sunday, and our guest singer will be Darlene Mitchell, so please be sure to join us next Sunday at 10:30. Thank you, Ariel, for your message this morning, and Joseph for the music, and Regina for direction and camera, and of course, thank you, Ed, for the sound. Please join in the words that are printed in your order of service as I extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.